If the seawater suddenly disappeared, how long could the Earth go without support? When the seawater disappears from the Earth, there will be a vacuum of 1.3 billion cubic kilometers on Earth. Large cargo ships sailing in the deep sea will completely break down if all the water disappears after 1 minute. A violent impact will cause it to fall to the bottom of the ocean and shatter. Seawater disappears in 10 minutes, even though it still feels the weight of the pressure after the seafloor crust starts to beach. This causes a squeeze on continental plates and results in violent earthquakes happening all over the world. After an hour of vanishing, many marine life, including whales, began to die one after another, giving off a pungent odor. 1 day later, due to atmospheric pressure. Great changes so that the precipitation on a global scale began to turn into frost, and the whole Earth was plunged into a world of ice and snow. Climate change is becoming increasingly serious, and people have realized that they need to take action. They built an underground shelter or disappeared to escape the pollution in the sky. After a week, the entire seabed composition has changed rapidly. It's now more unstable and active volcanoes are being erupted once again at a rapid rate. A month later, the entire planet ushered in extreme drought. So many plants and food crops were dying off and the lake's water storage began to plummet. This time, there will be no more rainfall in this world. 3 months after the disappearance of seawater, as high as 88% of the oxygen produced by photosynthesis on the Earth is completed by seaweeds. So when that happened, and then you think about how much oxygen content in our atmosphere has decreased and the carbon dioxide content also increases. Up to 80% of the organisms will eventually disappear because of the continuous effects of oxygen and water shortages. 6 months after the disappearance of the seawater, what people worry about most is that the high temperature is gradually making dead vegetation dry out and catch fire. Large-scale fires around the world are also bound to release more carbon dioxide, which will increase the average temperature of a typical Earth by 30 degrees Celsius and have a drastic greenhouse effect. But people no longer have the ability to use freshwater resources on Earth. Freshwater sources are nearly depleted that the seawater disappears for a year. The carbon dioxide content in the atmosphere reaches more than 80%, and the temperature is as high as 100 degrees Celsius, and more than 99% the organisms have gone extinct, and only a few bacteria and microorganisms are left to survive. The Earth will become an increasingly bleak and absurd planet in the next few years. According to the research of scientists, Venus is likely to have once had oceans and life, but for some unknown reason, it may be that Venus is too close to the sun, causing the water to evaporate too quickly, the carbon dioxide content increases, and the temperature rises, which enters a vicious circle and eventually leads to the last on Venus. Dripping water completely disappeared 700 million years ago. When the ocean disappeared, it took away all of the life that was on it. This example shows just how important the ocean is to life and evolution. About 4.6 billion years ago, Earth came into form shortly after the birth of the solar system. At this time, there were neither oceans nor atmosphere, only a gushing magma and meteorites that did not have an environment for any evolution of life. 3.8 billion years ago, the Earth's geology became stable enough to create a gradually falling global temperature. This decrease in temperature made it possible for water vapor to condense and eventually produce rain. After heavy rains, the early oceans formed and primitive life was born. The ocean's importance doesn't end there, it also controls the world's climate. They absorb most of the heat from the sun and distribute it to all parts of the world through ocean currents to achieve balance. If there weren't an ocean, life on Earth would have no way of evolving. Unfortunately, the effects of ocean harm are worsening each day. Careless fishing practices and senseless exploitation are doing nothing to help the ocean, all they're doing is creating more trouble. We need to be aware of the fact that human activity can cause a collapse in our ocean ecosystem. Corals reefs have almost been put entirely out of existence, and more than 50% of marine life has already gone extinct due to human activities. Now the alarm bells have identified our descendants. Please take care to protect the increasingly fragile ocean for the future of mankind. If you found this video helpful, make sure to give it a thumb up and share with your friend. Thank you for watching.